Hello, dear friends. A life based on ethical and moral principles is the only life worth living. Opinion piece. Sandman Operation. Globalist coup. Coordinated attack. Storm in the Vatican. Gold Dust Operation. White Mantle Protocol. End of the House of Cards. Let's start. Sandman Operation refers to an international movement in which on April 24th, 142 countries reportedly decided to reject the dollar as an international currency. This action could be part of a transition toward a new global financial system called the quantum financial system, and would mark the end of the dollar's hegemony. Sandman Operation may not be mentioned in IMF reports or Wall Street Journal columns, but is rumored in backrooms and boardrooms from Berlin to Beijing. The theory? A silent global agreement among dozens of countries to ditch the dollar, shattering its dominance without firing a shot. No press conferences, no headlines, just a coordinated exodus from the dollar-based system that has kept the US on top and the rest of the world in debt. The dollarization was previously denied, and now it appears to be underway. According to media grid, Sandman Operation has already begun. She reports that more than 100 nations are selling US Treasury bonds in a synchronized attack designed to cause the dollar to collapse and bring the US to its knees. But President Trump is prepared to crush this globalist coup and decimate the dark side's financial war machine. This would not only be retaliation, but also the beginning of global economic justice. The dark side is sweating, the dollar's throne is wobbling, and Trump is the only one not pretending that all is well. In his view, the system is cracking, and the cracks are coming not from protesters or politicians, but from the central banks themselves. Some European central banks officials are wondering if they can still trust the Fed to provide dollars in time of crisis. This isn't a political argument, but a red flag, a warning, and it sounds a lot like Sandman Operation, the plan for a coordinated withdrawal from the dollar by nations tired of playing Washington's monetary game. If that's true, then this would be the beginning of the end of the globalist house of cards. Distrust. This week, several European banking officials sounded the alarm behind closed doors, wondering if the Fed can still be trusted to provide dollar liquidity in times of economic stress. That quote translates to the following phrase, in quotes: if the next crisis comes, will the US be there or will it let us sink? If central banks lose confidence in the Fed as the global lender of last resort, Sandman Operation would become a reality, and the petrodollar, the bond market, and US global leverage would evaporate like morning mist. Historically, the Fed offered dollar swap lines to allied central banks, acting as an emergency oxygen tank for the world. But that trust was fractured during years of reckless fiscal policy, political instability, and now growing signs of domestic chaos. When even allies question the reliability of the dollar, it means that the system is no longer sacred. The Fed has lost its aura of invincibility, and that's when the dominoes start to fall. The dollarization. For years, the dollarization was considered a conspiracy, until it started happening. China and Russia have intensified trading in yuan and rubles. The BRICS countries are building an alternative financial framework. Even OPEC talks have raised the idea of pricing oil in currencies other than the dollar. Now the circle is widening, with doubts expressed by European central banks. What was once marginal is now the center of attention. It's no longer about ideology. It's about self-preservation. If the dollar collapses, so would all the countries that depend on it. And more players are deciding they'd rather not be on that sinking ship. Every man for himself. Panic. As this global shift unfolds, what is the Fed doing? Printing, posturing, panic-stricken. Years of quantitative easing, interest rate chaos, and fiscal schizophrenia have turned the world's most powerful central bank into a bloated relic, addicted to crisis and incapable of discipline. The result? Foreign creditors are no longer convinced that the US can manage its own economy, let alone provide stability to others. Every bond liquidated, every swap line questioned, every dollar diverted, everything undermines the illusion of control that the Fed has been building for decades. Sandman Operation is no longer a dark fantasy. It is the unavoidable result of decades of mismanagement. By the time your own allies start questioning the foundations, they are already cracked, and the only thing saving the dollar from a downward spiral is a leader who understands leverage, risk, and power. President Trump has just cancelled all overtime taxes, effective immediately. The dark side is panicking, bureaucrats are howling, and workers are winning. No more penalties for hard work. No more theft disguised as fair taxes. This is economic warfare. A storm in the Vatican. According to Ethan White of the Geisteller, a few days after the Pope's death, a storm swept through the Vatican. The head of the Jesuits, dubbed the Black Pope, was quietly removed as the Vatican's ultimate power. The official version speaks of a resignation, but reality tells us it was an extraction. The code name was Operation Goldust 7. This wasn't just a religious restructuring. It was a surgical operation against one of the most occult institutions on earth. The Jesuits weren't simple missionaries. They were guardians of the codes of ancient lineage rituals. They ran intelligence networks, financial warfare campaigns, and occult programs dating back to the Babylonian priesthood and the Templars. Their loyalty was never to Christ. It was to control. That loyalty has now been broken. In coordination with the QFS, the Vatican's black accounts were frozen in mid-April. US agents, in collaboration with members of the Vatican, forced entry into underground vaults beneath St. Ignatius Church. What they found was astonishing. Nazi gold, pre-World War I bonds, and even value from an 1871 US corporation. Everyone was confiscated and moved to Andrews Air Force Base under Treasury control. These were not spiritual relics, but tools of global control. All of this is part of a larger project known only to a few, Project Ecclesia. It's not just about eliminating bad actors. This was Trump's masterstroke, an effort born in the shadow of Davos 2020, when the media mocked him, but he was meeting with Vatican defectors, high-ranking cardinals, insiders, and victims of blackmail were ready to change their minds. What emerged from those meetings was a high-level plan to transform the Vatican from within. No media, no press conferences, just action. The objectives were clear: restore humanity's connection to the truth without Rome's intervention, erase the ritual codes embedded in society, recover the global wealth stolen during centuries of planned war and poverty, and dismantle the Vatican's spiritual deception. And it worked, because the Vatican archives have been opened and its dark secrets are coming to light. Desperate to heal the gaping wound, Rome has installed Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost as the new Pope Leo XIV, a US-born World Cup supporter with ties a US-born globalist supporter, with ties to Peru. The media hailed it as an inclusive triumph, but it was actually smoke cream. Leo XIV is the establishment's puppet, not its redeemer. Vatican insider Leo Zagami reveals how the new Pope is a continuation of the globalist takeover of the Catholic Church and will be used to wage war against President Trump. He preaches social justice, compassion for immigration, and unity, but he has long opposed Trump's sovereignty agenda. He attacked Vice President Vance and praised open borders and economic dissolution. Trump publicly congratulated Leo XIV, but his true choice, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, was excluded from the conclave because he was a thorn in the side of the globalist machine, and was blocked because the Vatican couldn't risk a pope who supported Trump. But as the Vatican changed its figurehead, real power was installed. A coalition known as the White Mantle Protocol, an elite force composed of clerics aligned with the liberation of humankind, assumed true spiritual control. They have taken the reins of Rome's dismantled machine and are now executing the next phase. Their mission is to sever the Vatican's ties to the global banking network, uncover ancient deceptions engineered since Council of Nicaea, and recover suppressed scrolls to expose sacred teachings and cosmological truths buried for centuries, and to end the psychological trauma encoded through centuries of ritual control. This isn't just an expulsion, it's an execution. Rome no longer has the final word on salvation, on God, or on truth. Spiritual warfare has transcended stained glass and marble altars. It's now waged on digital battlefields, confiscated bank vaults, and military interrogation rooms. Who tried to warn us? Roseanne Barr, Alex Jones, Lynn Wood, General Flynn, priests and the bishops who broke ranks. They were censored, ridiculed, and excommunicated. But every word they shouted was true. This was never about prayer. It was always about programming, and now the spell has been broken. Pope Francis, guardian of the last royal bastion of global religious manipulation, is gone. Whether he died peacefully or was helped to remain silent is irrelevant. What matters is who was at the center of the storm: Trump. He didn't need the tiara. He didn't need the throne. He brought down the entire temple from the outside. The world doesn't need a new pope. It needs liberation. And Rome is already falling, not with swords, but with silence, confiscations, and strategic destruction. The world watches, and the elite cannot stop what is coming. The cross is no longer a cage. It is a battle flag, and the man leading the charge is not hidden behind the pulpit. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.